So one of the benefits you earn when you're trying to gain access to your pineal gland, when you're trying to live a peaceful life with balance without fighting cancer, disease, and chronic illness, one of the benefits that you earn, well, was it not one of the benefits? How would I say this? Oh yeah, one of the benefits that you earn. I'm trying to think of, because there's a lot going on right now in my head, and definitely what I have to put on paper. And there's a lot going on right now in the universe, in the atmosphere. I could feel it. It's pretty insane. One of the experiences, not one of the benefits, one of the experiences that you will go through to get the benefits, to earn your ability to use your pineal gland and anything else, peace and whatever, without dealing with cancer, disease, and chronic illness, is the fact that you have to be able to handle your personal MK Ultra, which is dealing with being tired, dealing with all your different predispositions. I'm trying to find a way to word this, because this is not easy. This is some pretty deep stuff that I have to conjure up in my own brain and mind and whatever, and then be able to explain it and actually also put it on paper and make all the different connecting ideas so people can follow the train of thought. And so right now, this is the creative process, just so you understand. So you're seeing, this is how you get to the next level, is they speak gobbledygook, right? Because you're trying to get, you're taking different ideas in your brain that are over here and over here and over here, and then you're trying to bring them together and align them and have them interlock together to where it formulates an actual idea. So, what I have been experiencing is the fact that I've been able to access my pineal gland. Like, my dreams lately have been insanely awesome. Like, I had a dream that I was very young. I had really long hair. I was actually kind of tall. And I was in like a waiting room of sorts. And I was telling people that, hey, look at Jilly juice. It's a little controversial, but it's amazing. And I'm 47 years old and I look awesome. And somebody hugged me. Some lady hugged me and said, oh my God, you're so awesome, whatever. I'm like, oh my God. And that was the dream. And I think there was something else going on. I forget. But it was like a very vivid dream. I don't have these weird dreams anymore of like imbalance. And so I'm probably gaining access through my pineal gland to the universe, because it's not been calcified anymore. I'm not subject to somebody else's programming out there, though I am still following the rules of our society, but I'm not in bondage anymore. And so, because I have taken, like, I have the patience now to deal with evolution. And so I've earned, so everything that I'm doing, everything I'm writing about, everything that, that I'm experiencing, the feelings of just, complete amazing balance, has been through this process, has been earned through this process of Jilly juice. And so what I figured out, the whole thing with MK Ultra and politics, religion, and science, it is in lieu of your pineal gland. And so I wrote a big thing, if you see in my Facebook, I wrote a really long thing about the pineal gland and the energy healing world using like ayahuasca or pot or different psychedelic drugs to gain access to that side of the world that they have no business accessing, because they haven't earned that potential. What they're doing is they're trying to go and tweak parts of their body, no different than when somebody in the holistic allopathic world goes and tweaks part of their body because they don't feel comfortable, or they're having trouble evolving or transitioning to the next environment. And so that's why there's all these therapeutics. And I'm just like, well, on a body that is declining, and then you're taking these types of drugs, what kind of messages you think are being sent to you through that medium? Oh, but then here's the thing, people start feeling enlightened. No, you're feeling biochemical shifts on an imbalanced body. And then this is where all the word alchemy, um, where the charismatics came from. This is where the charismatics came from in the 1960s because of all the LSD use, all the cult leaders out there, the Jim Jones, the David Koresh, who else, um, there's a bunch of them out there. So many religious cult leaders out there that even the 17 influential families. If you go down my Facebook and I talk about the 17 influential families, I'm not calling them bloodlines, I'm just calling them 17 influential families. They started a lot of these different religions. And they understood word alchemy. They understood biochemical alchemy. They understood how to control someone through their lack of ability to use their pineal gland. And then that's where the whole third eye, the all-seeing eye, the capstone. I'm not even mentioning the name Illuminati like in my book. I mean, it's going to be like, hey, there is these symbols that represent things. Now, how you want to characterize these symbols, it's from ancient times, ancient antiquity. I can't speak for the leaders way back when, in 500 BC, what their intentions were. But we know that ancient knowledge has been passed down from generation to generation in some of these very influential families. And this is how they've given us a civilization to work with. And yes, there is a certain amount of programming in the population. There is a certain amount of programming, and then there are specific tactics that get people to be programmed more excellent, if that's even a term, much more advanced than somebody else. Okay, so if you watch a famous person or someone on TV or someone that's really good, at their profession or their art or their talent, well, they there's a certain kind of programming, whether it's genetic programming, it's in the family and it's genetic, and it has been teased out and it has been programmed within the body. And then this is why some people are very talented than other people, right? So, that's all the CRISPR gene editing on a very extreme scale. But that's our society. That's the diversity in our society, is the fact that we have the curse of dualities in politics, religion, and science, okay, where it's very easy to fall into that curse because of the biochemical triggers. And so, I have to say that, yeah, Jilly Juice releases you from that programming, from that bondage, from that curse of duality, and now you can actually use the word. Now, I'm not going to do this because cancer, disease, and chronic illness and all the names of the symptoms are still owned by the holistic allopathic industry. So I can't even put that on my website. Jilly Juice neutralizes cancer, disease, and chronic illness, right? Because you're using the word cancer, disease, and chronic illness, which is a very medical term. So, Jilly Juice neutralizes the unbalanced energy leading to a person's death. That's what Jilly Juice, it neutralizes, it counteracts, because the curse of humanity is a fact that it lays within duality. You're stuck in picking a side, you're stuck in unbalanced energy, you're tweaking your pineal gland, you're tweaking all your different hormones, you're taking stuff out, you're putting stuff in. It's like, oh my God, And so then of course all the chemistry that's involved. Then manifests in your behaviors and your thought process. Yeah, you could be very good at your job. Oh my God. I watch people that are very good at their job because, yes, they've taken on to the programming temporarily for 50, 60, 70 years, which is a long time to some people, right? But in the scheme of the bigger picture, that's like a drop of time in a bucket. It's like a tiny drop in a bucket when you think about it. Your time on this earth, if you believe people should pass away, is so short and so fleeting, it actually doesn't make a difference. Because once you pass away, people, over time, people will forget. Unless you're that famous where they have a statue or you're somehow in the history books. That's the only time a person will be remembered, is if they have done something that has moved society forward and they passed away. And so really, do you want to be that insignificant blip that only a few people will remember, but then when those people have passed away in that person's lifetime, that person doesn't exist anymore unless they're written somewhere. But even then on the internet, if you're not searching for them, then they're somewhere stuck out there in the cloud with nobody accessing to their spirit or their virtual image. I mean, have you ever Googled something you've never Googled before and you realize there's a whole world that you didn't even know existed? Imagine introducing Jilly Juice to someone who'd never heard of Jilly Juice, and they Google Jilly Juice, they're like, oh my God, there's a whole world of Jilly Juice that I didn't know existed until now. My friend told me, and now we have all these articles and people, doing stuff, and you're like, oh my God. Okay, that's kind of like what's going on right now. And so, yeah, there are the powers that be that are exploiting people's ability and their energy and their talents by removing access to their pineal gland, replacing it with politics, religion, and science, and then programming you through MK Ultra, which is a type of corporal punishment, a type of programming using PTSD as a way to trigger you into action. That's the whole crux of basic training. I went through basic training. Believe me, I know. I've been through that. That's predominantly how kids were raised in the 80s. You lay your hands on your kid. That's what people are right now. The Generation X are like, these millennials, they've never been spanked in their life. And it shows. Well, corporal punishment or putting someone on a timeout, why does that even exist? Why is there a reason for corporal punishment or putting someone on a timeout? Oh, because they're a kid. Well, I know growth is, when you grow up, you're going through so many changes and evolution, more than the parent really wants to deal with. But does that kid have a space to make mistakes? Does that kid have a space? And what do you do to correct that kid with those mistakes? Well, and that's what every, parent has to figure out, is how to program their children for society, but also enough where they can spread their wings, not be held bondage by their biochemistry. And that's every parent's, issue out there, is how do they do that? But yeah, it comes down to the root issue. Why do we need to program people in a certain way? But we also have a society that does run on schedules and specific things, priorities, which is you have to earn your keep. This is not like you're a hunter and gatherer and a caveman that can just live off the land, naked and afraid type of thing. No, we are in a very well-functioning society that you must be able to be programmed on some level, but then realize that you do have freedom on other levels. And knowing the difference between those two, knowing the difference is probably the hardest thing. And so it's easier, I guess, to remove somebody's ability to discern and just give them the programming and then trigger them into action. And using positive and negative reinforcement. Well, if you don't work, then you'll starve. If you don't do this, I'm going to hit you. If you don't do that, I'm going to take away your Xbox. Okay. And so, yeah, so I don't know. But that's the thing, with children, some children are easier to program because, either, I don't know. That's something that I think it really comes down biochemically. And I think biochemistry is huge in how children behave. And so that's something that will be left up for the different scientists out there that are exposed to Jilly Juice, that know about Jilly Juice, and will do their own experiments. Because scientists already are doing experiments on Jilly Juice. And there are people that are using Jilly Juice to to finally deal with their kids' predispositions. Because no matter what, every person's got to go through some kind of amount of evolution. And so they do, but then people react to their evolution completely inappropriately. And that's why people die, is because they don't know how to deal with evolution. And so I was thinking last night as I'm putting my book together in my head, how I'm going to infuse MK Ultra, because that right there, MK Ultra, I mean, it's known, but it's not well known, and so it could come off as conspiratorial as well as it could come off as very nefarious. And I'm going to say, you know, look at Delta programming. Okay, look at the Deltas in the military. You know how much pressure some of these special ops guys go through to be able to go into a country and be so on their game to go into a country that wants to kill them. Do you realize how much pressure and programming they have to go through? I mean, look at some of the movies, like in, you know, the Marine Corps, the Army. That's the type of programming that is being used in different ways out there in, you know, in different psychiatric, psychological, therapeutics, whatever. It's also being rolled out with how to raise your kids, like we said, you know, Dr. Spock, corporal punishment. And so yes, there's extreme sides of the MK Ultra, which is what's used in the military. And then you have all your speculation with the Hollywood stars. But we can actually substantiate the programming with the Hollywood stars, like, let's say, Britney Spears, with what they do with special operations. We've seen the movies. We hear about, you know, some of the torture that some of these soldiers have to go through to become a diamond. Okay? It's the amount of pressure. But that's what the gods gave humans, is that, you know, if you can handle a certain amount of pressure without dying, you'll become excellent. Just look what I went through. Just forget everything else out there. You've watched how much pressure and how much abuse that I went through. And man, look where I'm at today. Look at all the different ideas and new discoveries. Because I survived Dr. Phil. I survived the trolls. I survived all the death threats. I survived my government, who was going like, who the hell is this? I survived my community. I survived all the people that were like, whatever. And I'm still kicking. And that much more strategic. Because now I got a glimpse of the different types of people out there. And then that is a lot of data to work with. And then it's easier then to build relationships, because you know who are going to be the ones that are going to waste your time. And you know who the ones are actually serious. And so then your discernment is sharper. And that's all it is that Jilly Juice gives you the experiences and it helps you survive them if you stay on it. So that way down the road, when you're in a quandary or you're trying to make a decision, you will remember, and you can also see the personality types and be like, no, I'm not going to invest in this person or that person, because I already see where this is going down. There are a lot of people out there that are looking to be a god, that are looking to be a guru, that are looking to exploit a lot of this knowledge for their personal gain, for financial gain. And so one of the things in my book I'm going to, definitely discuss is the fact that esoteric knowledge and all of that has been exploited and being used for personal gain. Okay. And so I want to take the mystery out of everything. You know, that's the whole reason why I do what I do, is that, you know, I was in the dark on a lot of things as a child growing up. My parents didn't tell me a whole lot. They told me just enough to keep me, you know, programmed within their programming. But, you know, they really did not tell me. It was just like, because I said so, because I'm the mom, I'm in charge, I'm the authority, and that's all you need to know. It's none of your business. I'm just like, and so I'm always asking why, and they're always saying it's none of your business, and it's you know, and whatever. And so now I'm going to say here, I'm making a handbook. Here, this is the world. This is the book that I'm writing. I would give to any kid that is like, just got out of high school, or even before that. If a kid is mature enough to handle new information and you raise them in such a way where they can handle new information, this is what you have. This is the choices. These are the careers. There's 48 different industries, and there's probably like hundreds and hundreds of sub-industries within these industries. And then these are that's a map of the careers and all the different stuff that goes along with it. The best practice, not all the best, I'm not going to name all the best practices, but I'm saying there's best practices to every single one of these industries. Obviously, there's colleges and certificate programs that you can specialize in so you can get into information technology or this or that, right? And then here's the Jilly juice. Here's the best practices of Jilly juice. This is how you get your DNA correct so that way you can be in these industries and move around in these industries and keep reinventing yourself. Because you have access to your pineal gland. You're not completely programmed by somebody else's intention, but yet you're still being able to align yourself with the society that you live in. So you're adapting to your environment. That's the whole point of Jilly Juice, is to adapt to your environment. Not to say, okay, yeah, the government sucks and this sucks and that sucks and don't do this and don't do that. And you're seeing all the anarchists out there that cannot adapt. And they're living off of fume. Right now, they are just existing off the fumes of their last little bits of life. Because they're so stuck in that duality programming. They're so stuck in the duality. They're under the curse, the spell. And they're making money, yeah, because there's so many people out there that are also under that curse, that programming of politics, religion, and science. And they don't know how to neutralize or counteract forces that they deem are against them. So they think counteracting is taking a side. Not necessarily. It's being the actual third eye. It's recognizing the right and the left, and they both have value. And then finding the common ground between two. And then just jockeying both sides without one side taking over the other side. Now that does take some kind of biochemical change. Because when you think of neutralize and counteract, you think, okay, well, if I have not enough salt, then the natural reaction to someone who's imbalanced is to then apply themselves so much salt that they have created another imbalance. So it's like going from one extreme to the other. That's what goes on in the duality world of politics, religion, and science. And so everyone is always going from one extreme to the other, replacing one addiction with another. That's what Jilly Juice will neutralize, is the fact that you don't have to go from one extreme to the other. You will find balance between everything. And then you'll teach your kids balance between everything. And then you will break free from the bonds, from the chains of predispositions of cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and eventual death. But then you'll honor those that say, okay, I believe people should die. I know there's people out there that I know are in different religions, or they have a name for their groups of people, which is like a religion, okay, that may still get Jilly Juice. They're still going to probably believe that there's a Satan, and Lucifer and Satan are the same thing, which they're not, but even though they reside on the same plane, they're not the same thing. But they'll still get Jilly Juice. And they know there's evil entities out there because of unbalanced energy. But it's not going to affect them. But I think where the growth is going to come from is that, you'll still be identifying with whatever religion that you have, okay, or whatever group or whatever congregation, organization you belong to. You'll still identify, but it's not going to run you. There are still very valuable things in all religions and politics and science, but it's not going to cause you to take a side, because the common foundation is really going to be science and life. And there are words in politics, religion, and science that may represent it. And so that's kind of the amalgamation of Adaptation is where, yes, we may have names and categories to different things, but it's still part of your landscape and you'll adapt to it all. However, with Jilly Juice, you'll recognize the programming within politics, religion, and science. Okay, because I don't want anyone to give up their religion. If you don't want to give up your politics, but you got to see that there is definitely a very huge dichotomy within politics, religion, and science. And so it's recognizing that and saying, okay, I used to recognize that, but this is still this is still what I promote, but I want to stay alive. And I'm trying to, and that's the thing is that, and I don't want our future or to project that our future will have no politics, no religion, and no science, because that's not going to be realistic. Everybody wants to be in some kind of category on some level, whatever it is, whether it's your industry, because yes, when you're in industry, let's say real estate or chemistry or I don't know, computers, you're going to be taking sides because that's just naturally, you're competing against other companies. You're competing against other ideas. It's going to be something that's part of you where you're going to be more apt to defend this. Because if you're so neutral on everything, then where's the drive to make your company better? Where's the drive to make you better, right? But, it's a balance. That's the balance. That's really, where I'm coming from. So there's a lot in this, and I have to figure out how to put it all together. But that's just my mental mind mapping. And so, but then, with the World Economic Forum, it is competing on a level playing field. That's the foundation. That's the foundation, is competing on a level playing field. Using best practices without cannibalizing the other companies and the other people. It is using word alchemy to honor those that you're competing with, but also identify what makes you better if you are in the running to be somebody's choice, whatever it is. What makes you stand out more. And it is studying your environment. Just like if you're going to be chosen to be a prey of somebody, how would you get the predator to go after that person and not you? Well, there's ways of being, and there's ways to advertise yourself or not advertise yourself to where you're not being obvious in self-promotion. And so, yeah, so that definitely is, so that's something that I, because that is the fine line, is that you don't cannibalize your opponents, but you make yourself stand out why your stuff is better than the other person's stuff. And that's it. That's all it comes down to. So competing on a level playing field. Maybe that one word that you used tipped you over the edge to be the person that they choose. I don't know. So that's something that I am working with. Because remember, like anything, it's layers and layers of programming. And so I don't want to disenfranchise or negate people's politics, religion, and science, which I have been, I know, but that's part of all this peeling back the layers. But where can we bring the politics, religion, and science without being a duality? Working away here on loudspeaker on my building site. Awesome, John. Yeah, so where can we, recognize the duality in politics, religion, and science and not fall into that, but still feel comfortable to be in that organization? Because that is the foundation of our world. So how do you not exemplify duality in a world of duality where it is part of your landscape and part of your job? Well, it is a type of compartmentalization and discerning where you can be neutral and where you can't be neutral. And that right there, okay. It's the discernment, when to apply neutrality and when to apply the duality. All right. Holy crap. I had to work through that. Okay, you guys, that's all I needed to do. Bye.